There's been more chaos in the Iowa caucuses. First off, as we all know, it took nearly 24 hours for them to release about 62% of the results. We had reported on that. And then an entire day later, they still have yet to release the full results, but they did release a new batch of results from some of the counties, bringing it to 75% of precincts reporting. Now, here's what we know based on the earlier reports of 75% of precincts reporting. Pete Buttigieg had a slight lead when it came to the state delegates, but the important thing to keep in mind is when it comes to pledged delegates, both Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders, according to these faulty results, by the way, and incomplete results, are tied when it comes to pledged delegates. Now, after that, they released 85% of the results, but the Iowa state Democrats tweeted this: there will be a minor correction to the last batch of results, and we will be pushing an update momentarily. So what was that update about? Well, they did release an update, and they said that these are the corrected results, but there's actually a huge problem. And that huge problem is that it appears that in certain precincts, in certain counties, the delegates that were pledged to Bernie Sanders somehow ended up being given to Deval Patrick. I'll give you a specific example, and this is not a conspiracy theory. This is based on a Hawkeye supervisor who went to social media to share this weird inconsistency. Chris Schwartz, who is the Black Hawk County supervisor, tweeted the following: "We have known for over 24 hours, as verified by our county party, that Bernie Sanders won the Iowa caucuses in Black Hawk County with 2,149 votes, 155 county delegates." Now, he also included a screenshot of his post on Facebook about this, and he gets into more details. Now, the state party is now being forced to walk back their error of giving Bernie Sanders delegates to Deval Patrick, who received 0 votes in Black Hawk County. Press can direct message me. Okay, so I have more information on this because it's not just about Black Hawk County. There are other counties showing some inconsistencies, some weird, abnormal results. But this is a huge problem.
Okay, so this has been switched since the first night. The first night there was the delays. You had all the cable outlets, and including us, going, I wonder what's going on. And what we landed on that night was, their system is flawed. They have this new system that's went into place a week even before we even got to the Iowa caucuses. These things were pointed out, and they just have to figure it out. We want to make sure we get it right. That was the first time. Then we get the next day of 62% reporting for a certain percentage of the time. That was again Tuesday. We are now at the end of Wednesday, and we have another batch of a new report of new findings for numbers, and those are wrong.
Right.
So we've gone 2 steps past the original problem of, well, we use this new system, acronym/shadow. We use this new system and it's just not rolling out the best way possible, which was maddening enough for everyone, everyone involved, from people who were perceived to have won this to people like Biden, who looked like he was doing very badly in the state. We've jumped so far that we're not even talking about that anymore because the level of problems that are going on. These mistakes that are happening now have nothing to do with that original problem with these reporting.
That's right.
I mean, with their new system.
The new batch of problems has nothing to do with the app, right? So the first problem is the technology. And immediately what you hear from people in the media, from political figures is, Bernie Sanders people, stop with the conspiracy theories, stop with the conspiracy theories. That's all it is, you just sore losers, Pete Buttigieg is up. Okay, but at what point do we acknowledge that the results of this caucus, or the caucuses in Iowa, have been compromised? Clearly it's been compromised, and luckily you have an actual official, the Black Hawk County supervisor, drawing attention to this, because if there were, let's say, leftist investigative reporters looking into this, they wouldn't be taken seriously. And luckily we have someone in Iowa who's like, hey, what's up with this Deval Patrick situation? He received no votes. Why are we having a conversation about Deval Patrick? These results make no sense.
So I'm sorry, and even if there's not a conspiracy going on, the look of the conspiracy is the first problem you have. So if nothing else, also, so Chris Schwartz, who was a supervisor we just read about, who he was tweeting about, he's a supervisor in this area. If you're supervising an election, you have results and information. Each of them did, and they're sitting back going, why aren't our results being given to the people yet? I think there's a bit of an oversight of the fact that other people that are the lower level people underneath the Democratic Iowa Party, they don't want their names to be tainted with this. So he's putting out the information going, you guys aren't gonna get Chris Schwartz wrapped up in this madness. So I'm gonna give you guys the real information and let you guys try and figure this out. Because you're not gonna have me be a part of your perceived cover up at least.
Right. So I'm happy that he spoke out.
Yeah.
But Kyle Kulinski made a great point. And this is, even if it's found that there's no malice and these are just genuine mistakes, there's a lot of damage being done right now to people's trust in the system, in their, let's say, drive or motivations to even go out there and vote, because it's demoralizing to see this happen. It's been a few days now since the Iowa caucuses took place, and we still have no idea what the real results are. And by the way, it's not just Bernie Sanders supporters who are saying it, even Joe Biden's campaign is saying, can we really trust this data? What's going on? So for all of you establishment types who might be watching this right now, thinking that we're wearing like our tin hats and we're ridiculous, keep in mind that Simone Sanders just recently went on cable news to talk about how these results are super fishy, and they are super fishy. Right now, Biden didn't do well in the state, it's pretty clear, but the results are fishy when you have supervisors from various counties saying that there are inconsistencies in the results. So it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
Now, Kyle Kulinski brings this up, and I think he makes a really great point here, and this is what I worry about the most. He had written via Twitter, how do we know you didn't undercut Bernie in every single county? Like it's now proven you did in Black Hawk County. What is your explanation for giving his support to Deval Patrick and Tom Steyer? And I think that question needs to be answered. So how did this so-called mistake happen? How did that happen? How did Deval Patrick end up with Bernie Sanders, the votes that should have gone to Bernie Sanders? Well, there are other counties that are now raising concerns. So let's go to the next one. Been looking through these Iowa caucus results and found some weird stuff. In this precinct, Indianola 2, we see Bernie and Warren with 0 votes in the first expression, while Steyer and Patrick have massive viable pulls. In the final expression, these numbers are switched. Okay, so he shared the evidence of what he had seen, and you can check it out for yourselves. And then he's like, you know what, let me double check because I wanna make sure I'm not spreading any type of false information. So here's what he also found. I scraped these numbers off of the New York Times. So at first I thought I may have transformed the data incorrectly somehow, but nope. You can see the same issue on the official Iowa Dems results page. So why do these inconsistencies exist? How is it that Sanders, who polled incredibly well in Iowa, and Warren, who also polled pretty well in Iowa, have 0 votes in this particular county. But then you look at someone like Deval Patrick or Tom Steyer, who did not poll well in the county, or in the state, I should say, somehow compiling more votes. It just doesn't make any sense.
The best explanation, I mean, considering Steyer and Deval Patrick are on the lower level, again, like they were mentioning 0 votes, yet 2 of the 3 in the top 5, their votes were virtually switched. So it's one of those errors that this could be the explanation. No one knows because they don't know. So I'm just speculating because that's all anyone can come from right now. Is there was a flip, a direct flip, like, hey, the ones who are nearest to the bottom are getting the numbers that the people that are nearest to the top. Maybe some kind of computer error where some programming error flips things 100% or 180 on its own head. That's the best they've got right now.
I mean, that's the best excuse.
Yeah, it's the best excuse you've got right now, but we don't need excuses, we need the answer. So whoever, I was a mechanical engineer my first year of college. And so think of it this way, this is 1 year in. I knew already, if there's something that goes wrong with your coding or what you're trying to do, I knew some computer engineers and all that stuff too. If there's something wrong with your coding, you don't just go, I don't know. People say, well, you wrote it.
Right.
You tell me what's wrong.
Exactly.
And if it's taking you, now that we're in the 3rd day of this, why don't you have the answer yet? You're a professional. You've been given this contract to put these results out, these very important results. You wanna be first in the nation, but you don't take it seriously enough to make sure your things work. This is elementary school type of mistakes. These are the kind of write-offs where you say, I don't know, I mean, somebody else figured it out for me. No, you're a big boy and girl, figure it out.
This is supposed to be a democracy. This is not a joke. This isn't a Miss America contest. This is to choose the Democratic nominee for the general election. This is what the Democratic establishment has supposedly been waiting for. This is what they think is incredibly serious. This is what they have been focusing on in an effort to beat Donald Trump. So what's going on here? Because it's becoming harder and harder to not jump to the conclusion of foul play. I'm just keeping it real, right? They haven't given us an explanation. And it's like one thing after the next, after the next. I don't understand how anyone, any state official can think this is acceptable. It is unacceptable. We need to know exactly why these mix-ups have happened, who made these mistakes. There should be a lengthy, detailed investigation. And more importantly, the Iowa State Caucus needs to, they need to stop releasing partial results. Why are they releasing partial results on the third day? What is going on? We still don't have 100% of the results. And the results we do have are clearly flawed.
Think about the mantra of the establishment portion of the Democratic Party, this entire build up to this even election season. The one mantra is said, we need to have someone who can beat Donald Trump. We need to have someone who can beat Donald Trump. We need someone who can beat Donald Trump. That's the tagline, not much about policy, but we need someone who can beat Donald Trump. You know what Donald Trump and his surrogates and everyone are doing right now? They're going, this is a great opportunity for us to tell everyone in the country how corrupt, misguided, and nefarious this party is.
Exactly, and he has been doing that.
Yeah, whether it's true or not, they don't care. They say that when something is blatantly in their face, the facts, they'll flip it on its head. So when there's a lot of uncertainty, what do you think they're gonna do next? So is this helping defeat Donald Trump? Is this providing any kind of confidence? And people saying what Buttigieg said the other night when he gave the Obama voice, those former Republicans, like he pushed that one time. How are you gonna get former Republicans to become suddenly Democrats in this election cycle if you don't have any kind of confidence in your process?
That's exactly
right. And we just
right.
talked about how Donald Trump has subverted the process last cycle and is trying to do it again. Guess who that takes attention off of? The guy who's really doing it.
Exactly. And I just want to remind you of what the head of the Democratic Party in Iowa had to say 5 months ago. Here's Troy Price sharing how confident he is in this process.
Just know this, on February 3rd of 2020, caucuses will take place in this state. We will be first, and they will be, without a doubt, the most successful caucuses in our party's history.
I think this is the worst example of Iowa caucuses in this nation's history. I can't think of a time where it was worse.
If you think we didn't like the process before when it actually got results the night of, imagine after 3 days.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.